Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Nicola Donnelly, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is leading aircraft woman Sarah Hennell. We warmly welcome the family of Private Gilbert Martin, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. If you require a seat, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard their record, which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war or on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Gilbert Martin. Gilbert Martin was born in 1897 in St Arnaud, Victoria, one of 10 children born to Thomas and Hannah Martin, 3 of whom died in infancy. Along with his 6 siblings and parents, Gilbert lived in St Arnaud throughout his childhood. After completing his schooling, he found work as a plumber. He also served for 4 years with the Senior Cadets and then the 73rd Battery in St Arnaud. Gilbert Martin enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 20th of July 1915 in Melbourne. As he was only 18, he provided signed consent from his parents to support his enlistment. He joined the AIF less than 3 weeks after his cousin William. Together, they were allotted to reinforcements of the 22nd Australian Infantry Battalion. After 2 months of initial training, Martin and William departed Melbourne in the troopship Hororata on the 27th of September 1915. The cousins arrived in Egypt in late 1915 and in early January 1916 were taken on strength of the 22nd Battalion at Tel El Kabir. They were separated on the 12th of March when Gilbert was transferred to the newly formed 2nd Pioneer Battalion at Moscow. A week after joining the 2nd Pioneers, Martin left Egypt for France, moving into the area around Armentières to begin light engineering work, constructing trenches, and conducting maintenance in the area. The 2nd Pioneer Battalion remained with the 2nd Division throughout the war, providing building, construction, and maintenance assistance alongside light infantry capabilities. In late July, it followed the division as it moved from northern France into the Somme Valley to prepare for the upcoming fighting at Pozières. The battalion fought and provided light engineering support at Pozières and Mouquet Farm, and passed the bitter winter of 1916 and 1917 in the Somme Valley. In March 1917, the 2nd Pioneer Battalion returned to northern France, participating in fighting in Bullecourt in April and May, before returning to the Somme Valley in summer. On the 27th of July, Martin was evacuated to the 5th Field Ambulance with a fever. Over the next fortnight, he was transferred through casualty clearing stations and hospitals in France until he was admitted to the Royal Victoria Hospital in England in mid-August. His condition was confirmed as trench fever, and he spent the next 2 months recovering in hospital and in convalescent depots in England. Martin was discharged to the Overseas Training Brigade in late October 1917, and a month later proceeded overseas to France. He rejoined the 2nd Pioneer Battalion in early December and settled in for another bleak winter on the Western Front. The 2nd Pioneer Battalion returned to the Somme in early April to help stem the German tide during the 1918 Spring Offensive. Like many soldiers, Martin wrote home to his family during the war. In May 1918, he penned a fatalistic letter to his sister Alice, lamenting the horrors of war and the false optimism of trench life. Writing of his hope the Germans would never attack again, he told Alice, "I don't like the idea of killing a man, for it has its disadvantages. He might get in the first shot or prod with a skewer." He also reflected on the destruction of the villages around him. "You people out there cannot imagine it. Splendid big houses knocked rotten, furniture, pianos, in fact everything destroyed by man in his ambition to kill." He confided in Alice that he had quite forgotten the art of kissing and asked after girls from home he had fancied before the war. The 2nd Pioneer Battalion remained in the Somme over the next few months as the Allies gradually began to push the Germans back. On the 4th of July 1918, its camp was shelled, resulting in 3 casualties, including Private Gilbert Martin. He was 21 years old. Martin's cousin William also never returned home. He was killed in action at Pozières in August 1916, aged 20. Gilbert Martin's remains were buried in Blangy-Tronville Communal Cemetery in France. His name is also listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Gilbert Martin, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff, and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.